My name is Stephanie Coleman. Welcome back to Trey Talks, where we speak and delve into the stories of the people who are making an impact and a difference in our community. Today, we are honored to be here with Mr. Thomas Meloncon. Thomas Meloncon, thank you so very much for joining.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
We're glad to have you. We're glad to have you. So you have an amazing legacy. For those who don't know, and you have titles as a playwright, as an educator, how would you best describe yourself and your work?
Wow. Well, I have a passion for writing plays and poetry. I've been writing. My first play was in 1973,
Mm-hmm.
and so it was the first play called "The Just a Dream." It was done at the Shape Community Center. So from there, I felt that the stage was a great platform to tell our stories.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I've been writing poetry since high school. So it's interesting how poets often transition from poetry to plays
Mm-hmm.
because of the beautiful language. You know,
Yeah.
to me, when you start writing plays, dialogue is a form of prose. It is a form of poetry to me.
Yeah.
So when I write my plays, I think of myself writing dialogue that is poetical. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's a unique way to use language as storytelling
Yes.
and in scripting and experience.
Mm.
Currently, Staggerly and the Funeral of a Dangerous Word is currently being produced by Main Street Theater. Could you share with us the inspiration behind the groundbreaking production and what the audience can expect?
Well, the audience can expect great conversation. It's going to create conversation even after intermission.
Mm-hmm.
There's as much conversation even at intermission as it will be after the show.
That's great.
But I have, being a writer and an African American playwright, the word has always been around. We know that word is connected to slavery.
Mm-hmm.
We know that. And as far as my research, it did not exist in Africa. As far as my research, it did not exist in Africa as it is said now. So that word has been around. It has been tossed around through novels during the Civil War in terms of white writers using that word. The word has been used in so many different ways. We had a talk back after the show at Main Street Theater, and I explained to the audience that one of the things that as African Americans, I'm not condoning the word is toxic. We should not use it. On the other hand, I was telling the audience that it's interesting how as African Americans, we've had to take some of the most negative things said about us and psychologically turn it around to our advantage. We've taken food that was given to us
Poison.
that's why we've taken the things that are poisonous, and we've had no choice but to do something to that word to make it easy on us. Not that we agree with the word, but so this word has been the center point of how you dehumanize a whole people. And so as a people, what we've done is said, okay, through our resistance, through our struggle to redefine ourselves, to deconstruct these negative images, we at some point begin to give that word a different type of meaning, a context to it. It becomes funny in one point. It becomes, you laugh at the word. And in another moment, depending on how you add inflection to the word, it becomes a word of don't mess with me. This is it.
It's a powerful word.
It's a powerful word. It has so many layers to it.
Yeah.
And in Stagger Lee, through his character, through the son of Stagger Lee, that becomes a central argument he has. He's in love with a woman by the name of Naomi, who has a degree in sociology from Harvard. So Stagger Lee's son is he's a rough kind of brother, but at the same time, he's full of wisdom. What he's saying is that the word is poisonous. It's not that it's not that easy to get rid of. It's not a matter of just because as long as we have these social conditions that keep forcing us back to that word, you have to realize that it takes more than just that simple thing to say, go just put it in the casket. So my play tries to show that even with the word having the different meanings and it's toxic, we still have to make an effort to try to get rid of this word.
You know, it's interesting you say that, and this is sort of a tangent around that, you know, as they speak about the Native Americans and how alcohol was poisonous and it became addictive. That something about poison and the human body's addiction to poison, it almost needs the same sort of therapy around healing out that poison out of our body, out of our DNA, out of our trauma. Because that is what we are addicted to. No one's addicted to Brussels sprouts. Like, no.
That's true.
No,
That's true. You're right about that.
But there is something about our DNA as humans that poisonous things seem to take root in us and require more than just a conversation and more than just, and I don't know what that more is, but it definitely is a point of conversation that it takes all of us to have an intervention on ourselves.
That's true.
To kind of make that a different space.
Right.
As a Houstonian who's seen even Houston evolve in its culture and its complexity and the ability to tell this story openly across a railroad track, right? That happened within our lifetime. What does that feel like to be able to in collaboration with Main Street Theater produce your works?
Well, it's been an exciting journey. Becky Udom, who's the artistic director, we are very good friends, and I enjoyed the fact that this is my third world premiere.
Wow.
It's amazing. Third, not first, but third world premiere. The first play I wrote, third world premiere was the play I wrote about the Galveston Storm of 1900, which killed a lot of people. It was the worst storm in U.S. history. The second world premiere at Main Street was the Drums of Sweetwater, which takes place in a segregated mental institution. So this is my third. So I feel like Main Street is my home because Becky's always welcomed my productions. And as I told her and I told the audience, that's nothing more magical than a friendship between an artistic director and a playwright. Because when they believe in your work, that inspires you to write, knowing that that person will open up the possibility of you presenting your stories on that stage.
Right.
So that says, hey, I have a place to write my plays. So that makes you really go back and write. So I'm thankful for Main Street Theater.
And that is a part of their stated mission, right? Inclusivity and community, and to actually see it not in theory.
Yes, that's true.
But lived out. And they put their resources.
They do.
It's not just stated, it is shown.
It's shown. They practice what they preach.
Right.
Main Street,
That is beautiful. So for those who are looking to experience the play, you have, as you said, a legacy with Main Street. What do you hope that's different out of this was out of Staggerly that wasn't a part of your first two productions with Main Street?
Well, of course, I think one of the good things is that I think that we and Becky has mentioned this before, to bring in more African Americans to the theater at Main Street. They have had great support from the African American audience, but there's nothing more beautiful than seeing that mix, that grow. And also, I think that with my plays, I think that many of the audiences, the white members of the audience, many of them know my work. They've heard of my plays, which I was just humbled by it. You know, people approach me and say, I remember your play 30 years ago. I saw something you do. So I think that the beautiful thing about it is that plays like this and other plays draw people together of different ethnicities to have great conversation. And this play creates a conversation around that word. There's nothing more complex and full of need to talk about it than this word. And to do it under the umbrella of theater, of actors telling a story, makes all of us feel that this is the place to be on stage. This is the way you tell the story. This is the way you open up your ideas and feel comfortable talking about it.
Well, you know, that is something you have to facilitate a starting point and a tone for the conversation. And we haven't necessarily had a safe space.
I love it.
Right, to have that dialogue without it being disrupted. And art has a beautiful gift that it brings in opening up how, not just.
I love what you said, safe space.
It's a safe space that way.
Beautiful. Yeah. And you don't feel intimidated.
Yeah.
And my purpose as a playwright is not to intimidate, it's not to put heavy weight on one side. As I said in an earlier interview, when I created even Roger, who is the bigoted racist in the play, he has a human side of him. Even my antagonist has to have a human side. I'm not into developing one-dimensional characters who we are, and I think the audience appreciated that. They said, "Oh, this guy he's a racist," but I empathize with the fact that he was a victim of people around him putting that word in his head when he was a child.
Right. He was born into it.
Born into it, and just began to mimic the word. So it's a way of looking at both sides.
So collaboration and communication and challenging the art audience, it seems to be a running theme in what you're doing. And I heard of you the second I moved back to Houston. Everyone, your plays, your work, your poetry, it has it ripples through.
Thank you.
And you seem to do a lot of research, or you do a lot of research, not just in the character development, but the backstories and the stories. What is that process like for you to really make sure that you're not just writing from feelings, but that you pull in research data?
I love your question. You got me thinking. I love this. It's like yeah. I have so many things to say about that one.
Oh, good.
The reason is because it means first, the way you frame the question means you understand writing yourself, because you're a writer. I mean, that says, I'm saying, because research to me is the bedrock of writing a play, because you have, you can't teach. You have research, facts, you have imagination. You can't teach imagination.
Right.
That is something that you have to have either born with, or when I say imagination, is that the story, facts are basically things that glue together a very interesting, entertaining piece. But you have to have the facts because people are intelligent. Audiences are intelligent.
Right.
They research too. Okay, they're not sitting there like empty brain.
Right.
They can point you out and say, "No, that's not true."
Yeah.
I love your play. I mean, I love the emotional journey, but that ain't true. So what I like to do is research what I call the historical backdrop. When I get ready to write a play, I spend more time initially understanding the political, social, and religious influences of the moment of the period of my play. What's happening in that? Because those external realities is what have an impact on your characters. They're not existing alone.
Right.
So I need to understand what was happening in that year. When my play it took place in 1999. I had to go and research certain rap songs that were going on in 1999. Yeah. I had to research politically who was the president. I had to research even the clothing style. I had to research certain things that were said, because your play has to be framed such that it is both entertaining, but it's also, it follows factual moments. Now you got to have, when I say imagination, the facts are not entertaining as much as they lock the logic of the play. They rationalize. They perform a rational argument.
Yes. Yes.
If you don't have a rational argument and all you have is emotions and screaming and hollering, people walk to say, what was that about?
Right.
So people want to be placed in a particular time period. As soon as the lights go up, people want to say, okay, where am I? Where's this taking me? So that's why I try to research, yeah.
You know, it's interesting when you talk about time and placement, and then the current time with you as a professor at Texas Southern University, allowing students to staying relevant with the technologies, the way in which they tell story, be it on their phone or these other devices, how they receive story. How do you think that you're able to balance that as both a playwright and an educator, and allowing these students to develop their own voice? And then how do you think you can connect that, or do they connect with the story in Staggerly?
That's interesting. Again, very good question. Now, for example, one of my courses I teach, and I'm teaching that presently, is playwriting. And I started that course at Texas Southern University many years ago. So the students in this playwriting class, and they're doing it, in fact, they turned their scripts in yesterday. Each student has to write a 10-minute play, write it and direct it, and do the research. And in the next, in the week from now, we'll have what you call the 10-minute play festival.
Oh.
And that's how they exit the class. I don't want to teach playwriting where all I'm teaching is theories and approaches. It's like, as I told my students, it's like being on the basketball team, but the coach is only teaching you from a book. Well, you got to get up, you have to bounce that ball.
Right.
You got to bounce that ball. Even if you miss the goal, you got to bounce the ball. You got to learn how it is to be someone to shove you down, you get back up. So when you write in my class, in Professor Meloncon's class, you're going to write a play. And I'm more interested in students getting the experience of starting and finishing a play. I will judge the play, but I'm less interested in structure. Yes, all those are important, but did you complete it? There's more of a learning experience when students start, because writing can be hell.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, in terms of writing a play, because it doesn't cooperate with you. Ideas are very beautiful in the brain.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so beautiful. But when you take the idea and lay it down and stretch it out for, 2 hours?
Yes.
You have 2 hours to tell this story. And you better make it move forward. And you better have some discoveries.
Yes.
And some subtext.
Yes.
And some language and some beauty and some regrets, all that in 2 hours. So with my students, they're required to write 10-minute plays, and I'm so happy for my students. They've completed their plays, and we'll have what you call the 10-minute festival, and they're going to present all those plays in one day. They have to cast their own.
Oh, it's a full job.
Yes, but I only require them to have 2 characters.
Okay.
Several years ago, I told them they could write a 20-minute play. Some of them ended up being 35, 45 minutes. I said, oh, Lord, you can't do this. I got 20 people in here. But they said, well, Miss Blonson, I got so involved. I said, yeah, you sure did. Jesus, So I said, this semester, 10 minutes, 2 characters. Only 2? Yes. Okay. Not, because I would tell these kids, write a play. How many do you have, baby? Oh, I got 14.
So that's great. They were 14? High achievers.
Do they all have 14 are going to move the plot? No, I got 2 of them just standing around. They're going to look through the window. Look through the window? No. Every character has to contribute to the story, major or minor.
Right.
Don't put your cousin in there because the cousin, So anyway.
True. It's true.
You can tell I love teaching. And I have fun with my students, yeah.
That's great. So as they begin to create, because we love to sort of be able to celebrate and showcase, because that is a huge need to understand beginning and end.
Yes.
Business and the process and the logistics of telling story and what that can do. So then as you even look at that and you think what comes next for the students, you use theater as a vehicle for healing and social change, especially as it relates to our narrative or narratives of communities of color. What's next on the horizon for the students? how do you shape their voice? Is social change or social healing a part of what you instill in them as a value system? Or I know it's not just production and process, but do you think that's an important part that they should have in their art?
It is important because the next generation, whether you are a theater major or not, we need to continue to tell our stories. We are faced with so many, and I'm not anti-technology. I mean, though on my little phone, I'm still learning. I still don't know what Facebook is. So, but
You're not missing out.
I'm letting you know. I don't. I just use my phone. And so I'm not anti-technology. But I tell my students, let's not allow technology to make theater and the performing arts obsolete, that it becomes an endangered species. We need the stage because the stage is our last frontier to tell our stories. And with artificial intelligence and all these other technologies that seems to make people more interested in absolute quick stories. I think there's some technology that now can write. I said they can write stories. Am I right? Something the college is doing. They can write a whole
Yes, you just
essay.
prompt it. You just tell. I won't name it because there are a few, but you say, "This is write me a play that's seven that does this." But the dilemma is, if you don't have the voice to ask the right question, you can only really get in what you put. Get out what you put in.
Yes.
And you're right. It does still take some level of capacity to edit that. If not, we're just regurgitating what it finds and what it distills. I think there's a point of diminishing return on that. It does help expedite. I think people have so many deadlines that if you need something by yesterday, this tool is really fast.
Right, I got that. Yeah.
But if you didn't ask, if I said, make me a song, it's going to pick the most popular songs. It's not going to make my song.
I got you. Oh,
you know, it's gonna pull from what's been the most popular pop songs and what's been the most popular, but it's not a Berry Gordy. It's not a
But
Mr.
also
Meloncon.
the human element is taken out. The idea of going through a process by which you're getting your imagination to create a body of work is all left out. So I tell my students, look, continue to read, continue to support the performing arts, make sure that you don't get so accustomed to technology that you lose an interest in art.
Yeah.
I tell them, don't do that. I mean, we're already losing this in the public schools. A lot of public schools are now cutting back on funding for the arts. Some of these students, if they don't see a production in high school, by the time they get to college, some of them, this is their first production.
You know, it's interesting you say that as a tangent. I took a group of kids, my sister and I, to a play. Just some kids. She was a teacher. We invited them. And so she invited the kids, and through whatever I had access. And they came wearing just the most, you know what I mean? I'm not judging it, but it was just really like, well, this was unexpected. And we almost didn't enjoy it because we couldn't process why they sent them that way.
Yes.
And we realized the parents had never been to a play.
Never.
They thought we were taking them out to play. So they put them in play clothes to go to the park and so the amount of education it takes to understand plays versus playing. It was heartbreaking because if the parents don't know, how will the kids?
That's true.
Right. Yeah. You've received numerous awards for your body of work, and you're very grounded still. I think I'd be a little hard to deal with. How do you stay grounded? What keeps you motivated? And what is like your favorite memory of work that you've produced?
Well, you know, first, my wife keeps me very grounded. That's just the truth.
That's great.
If I get too high, and she's just like, all right, settle down. There's the ground. There's your feet. That's okay.
Laundry's over here.
That's laundry's over here. Make sure you pick up that, do that, please. Okay, shut the door behind you. But anyway, yeah. But I think that I've never confused my craft with some sort of famous, as people elevate themselves in a kind of a star-like. I don't. I'm uncomfortable about that
Mm-hmm.
because that means that you are not really understanding the purpose of your art. My writing is about people, and people from various experiences. I'm humbled that I'm able to touch their lives and pull out an aspect of their stories. That is what grounds me of my purpose in terms of a playwright. These are real people in my head that I write about and real challenges. So what humbles me and keeps me grounded is the fact that I never lose sight that I'm not doing them a favor. They're doing me a favor by allowing me to, without asking them, to sit down for several weeks or several months and write a story about them. And when I was, I've seen my play at Main Street, a couple of productions now. And the first, I had not seen it. I was at the table read.
Okay.
The first table read. Wow. And that art, I was just like speechless. In fact, when they were doing the table read, I did not look at them. I looked away because now I wanted to hear voices. This is the first time I heard these voices. I didn't want, because they were not acting, they were just going through the words. So they were wondering, why am I looking that way? Because I didn't want to interrupt, I didn't want to mix who they were. I just heard voices. Then on opening night, the voices became human beings.
Wow, that's when you really experienced.
And I said, whoa. And I that was a kind of nervousness. Yeah. And I was, the only word I can use is that I just felt so privileged and not, I just felt, wow. So that's Stagger Lee. This is Naomi. This is Roger. All these people walking out on stage. So it just makes me feel very, very happy that now these actors have translated these words into living beings on stage. Yeah.
So Stagger Lee plays at Main Street Theater until April 21st. For those who have yet to experience the production, what would you like to convey to them?
Run, don't walk. Run to see Stagger Lee. I know how it sounds, and I'm not trying to sound overconfident, but I've seen the audience reaction. It is mesmerizing. It's laughter. It's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And the cast is amazing. Most of the people in this cast I've worked with over 30 to 40 years. Wow. Timothy Dixon, who's playing Stagger Lee, was once my student. He's amazing. As we said, he's a beast on stage. The gentleman who's playing Roger, if you want to see a bona fide racist come out on stage, he's such a beautiful person, by the way. Off stage, this guy is so quiet.
It's unfortunate.
He's so quiet and so, did you like to play? That's how he sounds, but on stage, it's like, whoa. Yeah. But it's a beautiful cast. And I think that, the tickets are going well, so I encourage people to please come out and enjoy it and take this roller coaster ride in this place, Stagger Lee and the Funeral of a Dangerous Word.
Now I'm going to ask a quick history question and then sort of the road ahead as we begin to wind down. As a Houstonian, right? You're Fifth Ward.
Fifth Ward, Texas.
You've seen community do well pre-segregation, pre-integration, and the fight and the conversations it took to really develop our voice. What was that like for you? Are there any moments of that you think still resonate and that keep you using your voice in this capacity?
Absolutely. I was raised in Fifth Ward, between Lowndes Avenue and Market Street, near Wheatley High School, near Hester House. Fifth Ward was the Black Mecca. It was a sense of pride. Yes, there were always bad guys. There were always stagger leads. There were some stagger leads in Fifth Ward that if I see come this way, I go that way. But stagger lead, even if there were some bad guys, they had a certain amount of respect for adults. There were no drive-bys.
Yeah.
There was no bad language around. But Fifth Ward was basically self-contained. We had 2 black grocery stores. Would you believe that?
Wow.
Full 2, not 1, grocery stores owned by black people.
Wow.
We had 3 theaters. We had shoe shops. We had restaurants. We had all kinds of business. So what did that teach me as a playwright? It taught me as a child growing up that there are some great things that we can pull from our people in terms of positive values, in terms of discipline, in terms of self-respect. Because I was raised in that era where you had to speak to Miss Jones. And if not, you're in trouble. I was raised where you had to literally, when you pass by a church, take your hat off.
Right.
That was a ritual. I was raised in an era where, I'm really dating myself now, we used to have the milk bottles put on our front porch. They deliver big orange juice. Never has anybody taken our milk bottle.
Wow.
You don't do that in
Right.
Fifth Ward.
Right.
That's solid values.
Yeah.
Many of our grandmothers and grandfathers passed on values to my mother. So then that Fifth Ward was a Mecca, an African American nation holding on to remnants of African our past. We brought that with us. To me,
Yeah.
we brought those stories with us. We knew how to take. I tell my kids, you ever had a mayonnaise sandwich? What, Mr. Meloncon? Mayonnaise? Yes. Y'all was sure poor. Yeah, no, it tastes good back then. If you ever had a syrup sandwich? Yes, we had syrup sandwich. Okay,
Right.
my Lord, you ever had hot water cornbread? What is that?
Yeah.
We grew up learning how to make do. The beauty of our people as African American people, we know how to make do. For 400 years, you take this from us, no problem. We'll do this way.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Right.
We are make-do people. We are geniuses at making do. And so, as a playwright, I have taken the art of writing plays to show and tell our stories that we are beautiful people, and that also that African American history is American history.
Right.
Now, you might say, why did I tie that in? Because some people separate those two.
Right.
So when you see my play is about African Americans, but it's all about all of us together.
Yeah.
All
I
of
think
us.
that's wonderful. As we begin to delve into the future of storytelling, is there anything that you have aspirations for next, or that you'd love to see more of?
I just hope we continue to pass to the next generation the beauty of being able to write and to keep our legacy afloat, because we're in difficult times now where we're going through efforts to take out to edit our history. And now the people are talking about, well, you don't need African American history. They're talking about taking away these programs or equity on the college campus. Right. That's gone. They're talking about the fact that, in fact, I'm writing a play now, one of my newest works, that deals with critical race theory.
Oh, wow.
That's my next piece I'm writing on. So now we're at the point where we can't talk about slavery because it's going to make some young people feel guilty.
Right.
If we're going to upset them.
Right.
Well, what was more upsetting than slavery? I mean,
right.
We need to start. So you see where we're going now? We need to keep writing and telling our stories through music, through dance. Every aspect, we need to keep the stories going and show that we all share the same humanity.
That's wonderful. So once again, Mr. Meloncon, it is an honor and a privilege to have this conversation with you, to share Staggerly and the Funeral of a Dangerous Word, which is now at Main Street Theater. Thank you for the amazing work that you do. Are there any, I won't say parting, but any words you'd like to share as we close out our conversation?
Come to Main Street Theater. Be prepared to enjoy a great show.
Thank you so very much. Thanks for joining us on Trey Talks. For great conversations, continue to follow us at thetraymag.com and continue doing the good work to tell story and keep community prosperous.